Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Jesse Beeson is excused. Audience members, I want to start by asking you to please silence your electronic devices. I would also like to remind people that in addition to the folks in this room, we have people watching and listening online, so please consider your language in comments and testimony today. Today's meeting is a hybrid board meeting. Some presenters and guests will appear in person and some will appear virtually. For those presenting virtually, please mute your mic when not speaking. When presenting, make sure to unmute your mic and turn on your camera. For all presenters, please state your name for the record before speaking or responding to questions. May I have a motion on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Brim Edwards move. Commissioner Stegman seconds. Approval of the consent calendar.
Commissioner Brim Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Stegman.
Aye.
Chair Vega Peterson.
Aye, the consent calendar is approved.
Opportunity for public comment on non-agenda matters. This is a time for the board to hear public testimony, not for board deliberation. When it is your turn to speak, I will call your name and unmute you, or call you to the presenters table. I will set a timer for 3 minutes when you begin speaking and announce when your time is up, at which point please wrap up your sentence. We have received 5 verbal testimonies and 0 written testimony. First up, we have Richard Perkins, injured and pissed off, Charles Bridge Crane Johnson, and Shedrick Wilkins.
Good morning, you can begin.
Morning. I'm Dick Perkins with both oral and written testimony. You have copies of both. My written testimony reiterates my October 12th request for information from the chair, which have gone unanswered. I am making the request to the county ombudsman for that information. I have also made proposals for the county to work with the city and state to stand up a continuum of care for treatment of substance use disorder and mental illness in Multnomah County that effectively gets people with these illnesses into recovery. As a former heroin addict and ex-convict, now recovered, I want to do this while avoiding the need for incarceration whenever possible. I believe this can be accomplished while still maintaining accountability at every level and in a manner that does not normalize addictive drug use but effectively treats it. While culturally specific peer support has a role to play in this treatment and recovery process, it is but one ingredient in a treatment continuum badly in need of specific facilities and clinical staff that do not currently exist. Let's get to work in a collaborative way to make that happen.
Thank you. Good morning.
My name's Injured and Pissed Off. I spoke 2 weeks ago, and I'm to talk at City Hall about these 9 papers that I received from OHSU. And one of the papers on the second page, I guess it is, yeah, it says to orthopedics facility at Center for Health and Healing, 3303 South Bond Avenue, Center Health and Healing, building number 1, 12th floor, Portland, Oregon. Then it gives an address and things, and there's a note that's handwritten here. Schedule advised Dr. Winston that ban does not apply to this clinic. I have a lifetime ban from the South Waterfront. I believe that that's the address that's given here. And of all things, this blind guy's figured out that the orthopedic surgeons ignored my spinal cord injuries. I had 2 fractures to my T12 and L1, and that controls the arms and the legs, which explains the neuropathy and memory loss and chronic pain. They were standing me up rather than laying me down after the hip surgery. After an hour when I was brought up there, is going on since November 15th of 2010. It'll be 13 years, and today's the 9th and 6 days that they've done nothing, and now they're wanting to send me back to the worthless spine place on the south waterfront. For I had x-rays up there at OHSU, and they said that my spine hadn't moved any, but it was 12%, which is scoliosis of the spine. Gee, I wonder how that happened. Some people are born with that, but others, they get it when they're taken to the hospital and their neck brace is taken off and then stood up and operated on. And that's how I'm like this. And now the 9 pages is mostly filled with home care facilities where they're trying to put me away. And I'll be talking December 6th at City Hall about this as
Thank you.
well.
Good morning.
Hello, I'm Cedric Wilkins, and I want to run for Congress. Now, this is something you say because Shahila Jayapal resigned to run for Congress, Earl Blumenauer's seat, who's not running in 2024. I have a lot of respect for her, and I could win, but I don't expect to win. And I kind of want to know how much it costs to run for Congress. I've never ran for office, and this is like the big time. But I'm retired on Social Security. I mean, I could go to Washington, D.C. and do it. I do feel that because of gridlock between the Republicans and Democrats, we may be headed towards an era where there's only a one-term president, where the president has to make certain decisions and it's held against him. We may have a series of one-term congressmen too, where a congressman votes and then they won't. Kurt Schrader ran into this situation where he was supposed to vote for something for drugs. He was a congressman from Newport and then Oregon City, and he didn't do it right. He didn't run it through the Senate, and he was voted out in the primary in 2022. So we may be headed towards an era where maybe you can't make a career out of being a congressman. And I'd like to just go there and experience the whole thing. And I'm not going to spend much money because I don't have much money, but it just turns me on. And remember, it all started here. And there's got to be some reason why Blumenauer doesn't want to run again. Maybe he fears too that we're headed towards a system of gridlock where if you make a decision in the Congress, you're not going to get reelected.
Good morning.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm Charles Bridgecrane Simca Johnson, and what a time we're in. The previous public testimony mentioned Earl Blumenauer. Yesterday, the doors to the Honorable Mr. Blumenauer's 9/11 building, so to speak, office were barricaded because many Americans of diverse backgrounds, including many American Jews, think that 11,000 dead Gazans is not a good foreign policy for Israel, not a good foreign policy for the United States. Unfortunately, this Congress, where we will hopefully soon see Ms. Jayapal elected to, thinks that the best modification to foreign policy is to waste time censuring Rashida Tlaib. I understand that some Jews see problems with the phrase "from the river to the sea." However, Ms. Tlaib, who has visited here with Mr. Blumenauer, is a strong advocate for human rights for all people and vehemently opposes anti-Semitism. So the fact that 22 or so supposed Democrats would waste their time censuring Rashida Tlaib tells you what a political crap show we're in this country. Hopefully, other countries like Portugal are immune from this level of crap show. However, today is sort of a perfect 10. We have a perfect 10 of budget modifications, and then attached to those 10 budget modifications, we've got 2 regular agenda items. We'll be starting off with the Burnside Bridge. Since we've discussed the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, it'll be interesting to point out that on the consent agenda, somewhere, hopefully we're going to be moving an extra $200,000 under C2 to do a little bit better job for refugees here, while some nut jobs in Congress talk about expelling refugees from Palestine or something like that. When we move into the perfect 10, there's only one little item about my not exactly favorite place, the Joint Office of Homeless Services, but it's an increase for $242,087. And then after that, we're seeing our district attorney who'll be running for re-election next year. I guess there's no primary, I think it's in the general, but elections are getting weird around here with the city charter, so it's hard to kind of keep track of what's going on electorally. It looks like in May we'll be electing someone to take over from incoming designee Commissioner Jesse. It's weird we don't talk about that before the meeting, but thank you, and good luck as we work through these things today.
Next, we have a lightning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Super Humanity X. We need to uncensor Rashida Tlaib. That's an outright embarrassment on what they did. Freedom of speech creates peace. You should not censor someone for advocating for peace. Now, moving on to my subject, we're going to have District Attorney Mike Schmidt up here. And he's going to be asking for money for the body-worn cameras. And I agree 100% on the money he's going to be asking for. And again, to District Attorney Mike Schmidt, I want to have a body-worn camera law center created at Lewis and Clark on the complete ecosystem pertaining to body-worn cameras. When we get into the forensic analysis of the video and audio, when we do mock trials, when we actually have future students becoming a Benjamin Crump. We need more Benjamin Crumps in this world. The true civil rights attorneys that fight for the people. And that is what we'll accomplish when we create these centers within the universities amongst the students, and they will focus on everything pertaining to the video, the audio, the mock trials, the understanding on how when officers commit atrocities against community members, you will be held accountable. And that is what we need to accomplish with the body-worn camera programs. Law enforcement is not perfect, and that is why we have the body-worn program in place. And again, we're seeing the attorney generals, such as New Jersey, doing a body-worn camera policy and submitting that through New Jersey. This is what you will do, 36 pages. Now, when I was talking to Federal Judge Michael Simon, I'm predicting these policies will end up being 100+ pages. Very comprehensive, none of this 5 to 10 pages, and it will be redefining, recreating what 21st century policing is. And this is why we need to fund DA Mike Schmidt, and DA Mike Schmidt needs to also have more input on the body-worn camera policy, and it's so very important to get this right.
We have one person signed up online. Addie Smith, you can unmute yourself and begin. Ms. Smith, can you hear me? It looks like you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Oh. Oh, your mic isn't working.
Not muted on my end. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. You may begin.
Okay. The Multnomah County Meade building, I can't see anything. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, everyone can hear you.
Why does my thing keep going out? I think, Ms. Nelson, I think every time you speak, maybe it's going out, but I want to be able to see all of the board members. I don't know what's going on here.
You should be able to see this. The video is working on our end.
All right, sorry. So start now, please. The Multnomah County Meade building is a failure, which means that Commission Chair Jessica Vega Peterson and the County Board of Commissioners are failures. We voters do not have to continue to beg the county commissioners for accountability. We can elect new people to these positions and demand accountability in the Meade building. If they won't stop racism, discrimination, bigotry, intimidation, and violations of the rights of the people they're responsible for overseeing, then we will continue to vote them out. Right now, Erica Pruitt, Denise Pena, Jay Scroggins, Travis Gamble, James Stevens, and Amanda Miller, and others must be terminated. They are intimidating the people in their care. They are abusing the law. They are oftentimes violating the law. They are also racists. And I know you're thinking, well, how can Travis Gamble and Erica Pruitt be racists because they're Black? They too are racist because they turn a blind eye to the racism and discrimination their staff are doing. If an employee is violating the law, that employee should either be retrained or terminated. While these employees may be considered family because they all work together and have created a bond, this bond should not include overlooking violations of the law and rights of the people they're responsible for, nor should it include allowing them to treat Black probationers one way and treating white probationers another. This is what's currently happening. Because Amanda Miller is a disgusting racist bigot, she's been given a pass by Commissioner Chair Peterson, which makes Ms. Peterson a racist. It is time to vote them all out and elect people to the commission who will not tolerate racism, bigotry, and discrimination in any way by anyone. And I also want to tag on to what the two gentlemen just said previously. The censure that the 22 Democrats that we have all as Democrats, and I'm a 35-plus year Democrat, and I am not going to be reelecting Biden because of his stance on the genocide and the ethnic cleansing happening in Palestine. She should be allowed to speak her piece about her country, where she is from. We all know the history since 1917, at the very least, of the occupation of Palestine. And we are not going to allow disinformation being spread by the media or by Hillary Clinton or by the Biden administration or anyone anymore when information about what has happened to Palestinians is so readily available. I am telling you now, Commission Chair Peterson, in 2026, I am coming for your seat. I will not tolerate racism, bigotry, and discrimination in any form. And I don't care what faces you put out there, Black faces will not happen.
That is all we have for public testimony today. So I'll move on to R1. Notice of intent to apply for $447 million from the FY23/24 USDOT Bridge Investment Program grant program for the construction phase of the earthquake-ready Burnside Bridge project.
So moved.
Commissioner Segman moves, Commissioner Myron seconds, approval of R1. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Vega Peterson and Commissioners. My name is Megan Neal. I'm the Engineering Services Manager at the Transportation Division, and I'm also the Design Phase Project Manager for the Earthquake Ready Burnside Bridge project. And with me today is...
Good morning, Chair and board members. My name is Taylor Steenblack. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the Strategic Initiatives Manager with Multnomah County's Department of Community Services.
We're here today to request approval for a notice of intent to apply to a Bridge Investment Program grant. This is a U.S. DOT grant that is associated with the Biden administration Infrastructure and Investment in Jobs Act, from which this particular grant, there is almost $10 billion set aside for the FY23 to 26 timeframe. Our particular grant is in the value of $447 million, which would go towards the construction phase. Should we be successful in securing this grant, that would result in a fully funding of our project. This grant does require a 50% match. As you may recall, we have a target budget of $895 million. Our local match is comprised of a mix of local, state, and federal funds, namely $421 million in our local vehicle registration fee, $20 million through the state lottery bonding House bill, as well as $7 million in federal funds that have been previously secured. The due date for the grant is November 27th, and with that, we are happy to answer any questions you may have today.
Thank you so much. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair, we do not.
All right, we'll go to the board for any questions. Commissioner Myron.
No questions. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Commissioner Brim-Edwards. All right, Commissioner Stegman.
Thank you, Chair. No questions. This is incredibly exciting. I know there was a time when we're like, how are we going to pay for this? And it looks like maybe you all have found a way. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, and it's really exciting to be moving into these stages, and we know how important this is, so best of luck with this. Excited. Thank you.
Commissioner Myron? Commissioner Brim-Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Stegman?
Aye.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the notice of intent is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
R2, budget modification number NOND-004-24, state rebalance increases non-departmental federal/state fund budget by $292,652 in the LPSCC.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Myron moves, Commissioner Stegman seconds, approval of R2. So board, today we are taking time to consider budget modifications that help us to rebalance our budget in several areas across the county. These are important adjustments that will help our departments and programs manage their budget more efficiently and effectively in the coming months. And I want to thank everyone who is here today from all the departments for the work that's gone into these careful considerations. To kick off this series of items on our agenda, I'd like to start by welcoming our Budget Director, Christian Elkin, who will take us through some introductory materials to help frame today's individual material in a more holistic way. So Christian, could you go ahead?
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Christian Elkin, County's Budget Director. I use she, her pronouns. If we could go to the next slide, Tasia. Every year, we come back to you and we say, hey, we adopted a budget, but we typically adopt that budget prior to the state adopting their budget. And then oftentimes the federal cycle is running on a different cycle than ours. And so we have to come back during the year and do what I would call some true-ups and some realigning of the budget to ensure that we're matching to the actual revenue that we're receiving, because we can only spend revenue that we actually receive. And so this is kind of a first in a series of those realignments, primarily from the state budget. As you know, when we're between bienniums, the items tend to be a lot smaller. But when we're going from biennium to biennium and the state is making new funding decisions, we typically have bigger items to consider as we're going through that process. I want to remind everybody, one of the largest items that we had to true up to and to resolve was the SB 1145 allocation that we knew going into this budget cycle was already demonstrating that it was going to be lower than what we needed for our current service levels. We had set aside one-time only funding and contingency, and then you all went through a process in August to refine and allocate that funding to our public safety departments. As a reminder, that was one-time only money, and so as we go into the fiscal year 2025 budget, we're going to have to figure out how to what the priorities are around public safety and how that funding, that loss of funding, is going to impact our budget. Today's items before you, we have 8 individual bud mods. They are pretty small in scope, and then we'll talk about what you're not considering today. So if we can go to the next slide, please. This is just a kind of a high-level net change in the budgets by department for each of the departments that have their Fed state fund impacts. So just giving you some high-level numbers. If we can go to the next slide, please. Additionally, this is just another way of showing where those changes are. These changes are going to impact 5 funds, but primarily the federal state fund and the subfunds where we have the grant revenue from the federal and state departments. And then if we can go to the next slide, please. I want to highlight some areas that we're not considering today and to kind of talk to you about when we're going to bring those items back to you for consideration. So these bud mods do not include the Oregon all-in money from the governor. That's going to be included in the November 28th Joint Office briefing when they come back and talk about Housing Multnomah Now, Oregon All-In, and how the impacts of those 2 programs relate to one another. And there'll be a briefing on a Tuesday and then a bud mod on the following Thursday. Also, the Department of County Human Services is working very closely with our state partners on our aging funding, also working with government relations. We anticipate that they will have a more definitive set of information to provide the board in December, so they'll be bringing that information back. But right now, we just don't have enough information to have you make decisions around aging. Rent assistance is also another area, as you've seen in the past, where as the state is kind of coming through their budgets and as they're figuring out their balances, we've had these series of kind of ongoing allocations for rent assistance. And so the Youth and Family Services anticipates that will be coming back in December or January to see where we are with those one-time only allocations and rent assistance. And then finally, Abby will be back with her public safety partners probably in January of 2024. The 3194 funding that we get from the state comes in 2 component pieces. First is a formula grant, and then the second is a competitive grant. We are, you'll be seeing items here to true up the competitive grant, or the formula grant, but the competitive grant, the state has not made the final decisions and allocations on. Also, that is dependent on who else in the state submits applications and how much funding's available. So they're still working through those allocations. One final reminder, as you hear from the departments, DCJ, the Sheriff's Office, and LIPSIC, at the time that we allocated the contingency for the SB 1145 funding, I had said to you all, we're only taking one action today, which is to backfill with the general fund contingency. The departments will need to come back and true up their SB 1145 revenue allocations. We try to get as close as possible, but there's some small minor balancing that needs to happen to get the state funding to match what we actually were allocated. That does not mean that there's any additional cuts that are coming from these departments. They are merely just technically truing up their accounting on the state side. You all have already taken actions to fund the services through the general fund contingency portion of that, and we'll try to highlight that as we're going through. So with that, if we can go to the next slide, I would like to turn it over to Abby, who has our non-D allocation that is changing by just over $290,000.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. For the record, Abby Stamp. I'm the Executive Director of the Multnomah County Local Public Safety Coordinating Council. I use she, her pronouns. Thank you, Christian, for basically saying everything that needed to be said. So I'll just be very specific about what these 2 items are for the LIPSIC. As Christian noted, we have 2 different kinds of justice reinvestment grants that the Criminal Justice Commission requires that the LIPSIC apply for. One is done, that is our formula. The other is not done. So this first bullet item is about the one that is complete. And the reason the number is 6 digits is because although we work on a fiscal year, the the money we get from the state, we can actually extend it through the calendar year. And the primary responsibility of my office's piece of a very large multi-million-dollar grant is to administer services that are provided through community providers to survivors and victims of crime. So that is the largest number you see there. That is pass-through dollars. I manage 3 contracts with community agencies that have been our contractors for a few years now. And the other piece is about $11,000 for some additional training. Justice Reinvestment is 10 years old. We do need to continue to invest in ongoing training as we've had a lot of turnover both at the leadership, operation, and other staffing levels of that program. So that's the Justice Reinvestment. And as Christian mentioned, our competitive grant is still out there. It's a smaller number, but nonetheless, we do need to learn what our award is, figure out how we're going to implement those dollars, and when that discussion is underway, I'll return with public safety partners, hopefully in January. And the other piece you already took action on, thank you very much, in August of 2023 to help make sure that the LIPSIC small but mighty team and office is able to have enough funds to be able to do training and have a small, modest supply budget, and that is the true-up of $9,300.
Thank you so much. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Okay, let's see if we have any questions for Abby for this, and we will take to these as separate board items. Commissioner Brim-Edwards?
So I just had a question. We had a lot of discussion earlier about the competitive grants and because of the reduction in state funding that we weren't able to fund some things in public safety. So how much, you said, you just said that the competitive grant was smaller, so it was smaller than what was presented earlier to the commission? By how much?
The Grant Review Committee, that is a committee of the Criminal Justice Commission, has reviewed all of the statewide, all 36 counties' applications for their competitive grants, and the commission is receiving those recommendations from the Grant Review Committee and has yet to make their final decision. So we do not know, and we will know later this month.
I thought, though, did you just say that the grant was smaller? Are you talking about the competitive grant?
So there are 2 Multnomah County Justice Reinvestment Grant revenue streams. One is formula. We get that. That's based on our 1145 calculation. And the other is competitive, where we compete with other counties for one pot of money that the state administers. And so that competitive revenue stream is smaller than the formula revenue stream. The formula revenue stream funds services and treatment and a lot of things that Director Pruitt, I'm sure, can speak to. And competitive is really some funds key staff to make the Justice Reinvestment projects happen. It is a smaller lump sum than the larger formula grant.
Okay. I thought you said that we had reduced the amount of the competitive grant that we were going for, but
yeah,
that's not what you said.
Thank
you. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stegman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Abby and Christian. I really appreciate the 30,000-foot view. Very helpful. So, Abby, I just wanted to make sure. So we're adding, so you're saying that we got 300, well, the math is off, but 300,000 more than we were anticipating?
No, the victim services contracts run through the calendar year.
Okay.
So, and that is true for all of the Justice Reinvestment funds. The Criminal Justice Commission allows us as the county to spend down those dollars through the December 31st, giving that's a strange 6-month window then to continue to use Christian's phrase that we need to true that up because that rolls into the next year, fiscal year, pardon me.
Got it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Myron.
Thank you. Again, I too appreciate that, the broad overview. So thank you, Christian. And for this, I just had a question in terms of the carryover. Said from the prior biennium, I'm trying to figure out if there's a carryover. Is it more that technicality because of the 6 months, et cetera, or because there were services that didn't happen?
No, you're absolutely correct. It is because it is a calendar year calculation versus a fiscal year.
Great.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I don't have any questions. Appreciate the work and trying to make all of these numbers work, and we'll wait with hope for the future grant information in January. Can we take a roll call vote, Tasia?
Commissioner Myron?
Aye.
Commissioner Brim-Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Stegman?
Aye.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the budget modification is approved.
R3, budget modification number DCJ-006-24, rebalance state/federal grants.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Myron moves, Commissioner Stegman seconds, approval of R3. Good morning.
Tasia, can we, the slides go through all the bud mods? Sorry. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Vega Peterson and Board of County Commissioners. My name is Erica Pruitt. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Director of the Department of Community Justice. And I will let our Finance Manager introduce herself.
Hi, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Colby Dixon. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Finance Manager at DCJ.
In our presentation, Colby's going to go through the numbers, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the impacts.
Okay, our first bullet point, Abby kind of touched on it. This is kind of additional justice reinvestment funding, so we have to true up the revenue that they gave us in the grant award from July 1 to December. So this is the last 6 months of the grant award, and because we budget in a different cycle, this has already been programmed out, and it's just carry forward of the revenue. The next bullet is for the CJC Start Court. So you'll see a reduction of $200,000. This, we are looking to reduce some of our pass-through to legal staffing and culturally specific treatment based on the award amount. The next bullet is $127K from the CJC, but it's our step court. So with this level of funding, we will have to ramp back this program, and there'll be further discussions on that. In the next slide, you'll see over the next, over the 2 bienniums, how much we've asked for and how much it has decreased. And then the last bullet is also CJC, and we got an additional $18,000 this year. Next slide, please. So this slide talks a little bit further about the specialty court impacts. So the light blue is our application, so what we asked CJC for, and then the dark blue is what we've been awarded. As you can see, over 21 to 23 and 23 to 25, we've seen reductions. I'll call out the step court addition. We were hoping to add additional clients and participants, but the award came in even lower than what current service levels are. Erica, do you want to talk to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we look at the step court reduction in funding, that's going to have very significant impacts on the step court, particularly in the area of treatment services. As we know, our treatment providers can bill Medicaid for services provided in treatment. However, the step court model requires a multidisciplinary team, which includes a treatment provider in the court to help kind of coordinate around the services that are happening with an individual. Because of this reduction in funding, and this was not funded by the CJC, so we will be working with our partners, with the DA, with the courts, to talk about these impacts on the court and how we need to adjust the program.
Okay, next slide, please. The 194 from the Department of Corrections is the technical side of the SB 1145 contingency. So it's taking it out, and general fund backfilled that. So it's making it whole in the technical side. 97,663 from the Justice Special Ops Fund. So this will go towards our Family Resolution Services program. So we estimate what they're going to collect. This is the true up of the revenue they actually collected. So we get to add that into the program offer for this year. And the last one is 58,000 of other technical adjustments. It's made up of small. We got 5,000 from USDA for our breakfast program with juvenile. So they're smaller ones that make up that 58,000, but I can share out if you're interested in seeing all of the little pieces that make that up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, the specialty courts is very important to us, and this reduction in funding is going to have an impact. And some of those impacts might be that we might have to look at being more selective around the criteria of the people that are in those programs, really trying to talk about, the level of service that people receive. But we will work with our partners collaboratively to adjust as we need to continue to get these very important services to the highest risks that are on our caseloads.
Okay, thank you so much. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, we'll go to the board for any questions. Commissioner Stegman, we'll start with you for this one.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Colby and Erica. It's great to have you here and see you in real life. No questions. I just want to reiterate what you said, Erica, about the importance of the specialty courts. I've been able to tour and be present during those courts and have seen firsthand and heard people say like how that quite often literally changed their lives. So I know you all are working hard at trying to find funding, and state, if you're out there listening, these are great programs. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner Myron.
Thank you. I appreciate, Erica, your comments about the specialty courts. Yesterday, I attended the Attorney General convened a fentanyl crisis group to talk about things that are happening in our state and things that really can work in terms of the continuum of what's needed to address the fentanyl crisis. And specialty courts were, the drug courts were highlighted throughout the day. And so the idea that we would actually be have to cut those back in any way during this unprecedented crisis is something that I hope we can find ways to get the funding that's needed to bring, not only get them where they would have been, but even bolster them further, because we need the few things in our toolbox that work, we need to really invest in. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Brim Edwards. Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions. I just will concur with that. We had a conversation around the impact at our last LIPSIC meeting with the courts, talking about how they are going to be feeling this. And I think that there is just such a mismatch between the priorities that we need of these kinds of effective programs, and then the decrease in the funding that we're receiving from the state to really fund these important and effective programs. So I appreciate the struggle that you are having, and our partners in the courts and the other systems in trying to fill these gaps, and this is something that we'll continue to raise up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Tasia, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Myron? Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Stegman?
Aye.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the budget modification is approved.
R4, budget modification number MCSO-002-24, state rebalance, reduce Senate Bill 1145 funding by $110,842.
So moved.
Commissioner Stegman moves, Commissioner Myron seconds. Approval of R4. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is John Harms-Malant. I use he, him pronouns. I am with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office as its Chief of Business Services. Hopefully my piece will be pretty brief with you this morning. This $110,000 decrease represents the delta between our anticipated cut from SB 1145 and what was ultimately realized in the state budget. The vast majority of that you all have already backfilled with one-time only contingency. This $110,000 will come out of materials and services in our budget, and we do not anticipate an impact to services for that.
Thank you. Did we receive any public testimony on this item?
Yes, we have one person signed up, Charles Bridgecrane Johnson.
Good morning, Charles Simca, Bridgecrane Johnson, and of course, this is, I think, the only little tweak the Sheriff's Department needs here as far as budget modifications. But of course, since the last time you all convened, we have had a 51-year-old woman die in custody, the 7th in custody death since May. A little budget modification like 110 probably doesn't fix that. But I think a number of your constituents are concerned. Things aren't all bleak, as some people for Portland might try and make them out. The homicide numbers are declining, but many of us are concerned that we haven't seen in public an appropriate response with explanations and steps about how 7 in-custody deaths happened and how we make sure that we go back down below the previous number. And also, historically, this county has done some great things on reducing levels of incarceration, but that makes it worse. If 15 years ago we had twice as many people in the county jail and they weren't dropping like flies 7 in 9 months, then that just accentuates the level of what we need to see in some sort of combined response from y'all. I know that Governor Kotek has recently announced or effectively installed a new director at the Oregon Health Authority. So I hope we can see some collaboration that will give these families closure and clarity about what happened and the steps that we're confident that we can support the sheriff in to make sure that we don't have a nationally high, embarrassing, tragic record of in-custody deaths. Since there's so many items, I'm going to just briefly speak ahead to when we take away $1 million from teen pregnancy prevention. I know that's some crap that the beautiful Congress did with the last budget negotiation, federal budget negotiation, but the rates of infants being detected prepartum and postpartum with syphilis is skyrocketing, so we need to make sure that we find money for public health to address STD, STI infections in the community, especially preventing transmission to newborns. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to the board with any questions. So if you guys want to come back up here, thank you. Commissioner Myron, any questions? No? Commissioner Brim-Edwards? Commissioner Stegman?
No questions. It's good to see you, John, in your newish role.
Newish, yes. Good to see you too.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Christian. And with that, we'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Myron? Aye. Commissioner Brim-Edwards? Aye. Commissioner Stegman?
Aye. Chair
Vega Peterson?
Aye. The budget modification is approved.
R5, budget modification number HD 004-24, state rebalance, reduce $1.5 million of teen pregnancy prevention funding and reallocate other resources.
So moved.
Second. Commissioner Stegman moves. Commissioner Myron seconds. Approval of R5. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Andrea Hamburg, she, her. I'm the Interim Public Health Director. I'm joined at the table today by Debbie Rood, our Public Health Finance Manager. And in the boardroom today is Charlene McGee. She's the Director of Prevention and Health Promotion. And April Kaiser, she's our Program Specialist with our Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program. We are here to talk about changes to our Adolescent and Communities Together Act, Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program, or TPP. So this program works on youth sexual health with a youth-driven, equity-focused, comprehensive sexual education curricula. The program works in schools, providing direct education, partners with school districts to support teachers who are new to the comprehensive curricula, and works with community partners on after-school programs that include comprehensive sex ed. Partners like APANO, Latino Network, NEA, SEI, Boys and Girls Clubs of Portland, Planned Parenthood, Columbia Willamette, and of course our local school districts. Our programming is open to youth at all of our sites, all youth, but we do focus on addressing disparities and inequities experienced by focus populations, especially unintended pregnancy and STI rates among Black, African American, Latinx, Native American, and Pacific Islander youth. Despite the unfortunate typo on the slide, programming reached more than 15,000 youth in the last fiscal year and has averaged 8,000 students over the last 8 years. Next slide. So we have received this particular funding for the past 8 years. We were notified this fall that we were approved for the grant, but we were not allocated any funds because of greater need elsewhere. In some ways, we are victims of our own program success. To cover the program funding, we have proposed some reduced expenses, moving $500,000 in funding from the CDC Health Disparities Grant and $700,000 in funding from state tobacco funds. So as you can see here, we are reallocating some money that was budgeted for some contracted activities and some internal work. Some of that is because the work was accomplished with fewer resources, and some of that is because when we look at health disparities, the actual grant itself is intended to reduce disparities related to the COVID pandemic. As I know you all have heard many times, our adolescents have been greatly impacted by the pandemic. So adding additional resources to this particular population with this funding made absolute sense when we had an equity-focused conversation on our leadership team about this resource. Slide 3. Next slide. So the other pot of money is from state tobacco funds. People who start smoking in their teen years are much more likely to keep smoking throughout their lives, which exposes them to a greater risk of cancer, heart disease, lung disease, and stroke. Programs that catch adolescents before they start smoking are really effective at reducing that risk. Shifting funds from the state tobacco to our adolescent sexual health program will allow us to broaden the risks that we talk about youth in our schools. We'll shift our focus to, like I said, catching folks before they start smoking, and also talk about other issues that adolescents are facing, such as crime in their communities. Next slide. This 1 year of bridge funding will also give us an opportunity to explore other funding opportunities. As you can see on this slide, we are applying for a new source of funding for this work that will be announced later this year. And the ACT Collaborative, the Adolescent and Communities Together Collaborative is also interested in partnering with us to support our classroom-based work. Any questions?
I'm sure we will. Thank you so much for this. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, we will go to the board for any questions or comments, and we'll start with Commissioner Brown-Edwards.
Oops, the slide just went. I was going to ask the future funding possibility. What is that, if you could say, and just the size of the funding that's needed?
I'm going to pass that to April.
Okay, great.
Good morning, everyone. April Kaiser, she, her pronouns, Health Education Program Specialist Senior with Community and Adolescent Health. Happy to be here again. The reason I was hoping to speak with this is because I was here before you recently talking about this particular grant that we did apply for in October with your consent. It was $1 million focused on culturally specific sexuality education. And that was the Seeding Justice Reproductive Health Equity Fund Systems Change Grant.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Stegman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. I guess I'm a little bit confused because you talked about moving state tobacco money around. Can you just walk me through? Because it looked like you were moving money from there and then you're moving some money back there, or I'm not following.
Thank you, Commissioner Stegman. So we have state tobacco funds that are very flexible.
Okay.
And we had purposed them for a broader community campaign that was intended to target youth to stop smoking. And instead of doing that larger campaign, we're going to do this more specific community-focused youth education work in the classroom.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Myron.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I just wanted to highlight that there is an initiative that was born in Multnomah County, so to speak, in Multnomah County, that is a tool called One Key Question that equally supports people who are able to bear children if they want to become pregnant, if they don't, or if they're just not sure or can't decide. And the one key question being, do you want to become pregnant in the next year? If yes, we'll support you in that. If no, support you in that. And if, I don't know, we'll support you in that. And though developed here, it was while I was medical director of the Oregon Foundation for Reproductive Health. It is spread across the country. It is adopted, and in particular, it is a Power to Decide as a national organization. I'm not sure if you've worked with them, but they do equity-focused work. This has been adopted for teen pregnancy prevention. It is super cheap to do, and it is effective. And so I'm wondering if you have pursued One Key Question or have heard of it at all.
I'm turning to my experts behind me. Thank you, Commissioner.
Good morning, April Kaiser again. Yes, have heard of One Key Question, and thank you for bringing it up. We have not had the flexibility with our funds to really invest in that kind of effort, especially that would require working with healthcare systems. And typically the grants that we, I'm assuming, working with healthcare providers, right? Typically the grants that we have been working under
It's not healthcare provider. I mean, it's and social workers, schools, all kinds of different. But yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. We have been tasked by the federal grants that we received to provide evidence-based comprehensive sexuality education. So we have been really focused our efforts, especially in schools, around those evidence-based curricula. But that isn't to say that we might now maybe possibly have some more flexibility to be able to build that into our programming.
Well, I would love to discuss it further. Thank you so much for that clarification.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrea and Debbie, and thank you for answering all the questions specifically about the program. Appreciate that. Tasha, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Myron?
Aye.
Commissioner Bram-Edwards? Commissioner Stegman?
Aye.
Chair Vega-Peterson?
Aye. The budget modification is approved.
R6, budget modification number HD 005-24, state rebalance appropriating $1.1 million for behavioral health workforce incentives.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Stegman moves. Commissioner Myron seconds. Approval of R6. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Vega-Peterson and Commissioners. Heather Mirasol, she, her pronouns. I'm the Interim Director of Behavioral Health, and we're really excited about this grant. I'm going to pass to Jen Golzo, our Quality Manager and Chief Compliance Officer, to present this budget modification today, and here to support any questions.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. For the record, I'm Jennifer Golzo, Chief Quality and Compliance Officer for the Behavioral Health Division. I use she, her pronouns. I'm here to share with you information about a 2-year grant the Behavioral Health Division received for workforce incentives and development. We will be using $1.1 million of a total $3.3 million grant in fiscal year 24 for incentives that will bolster our behavioral health workforce with a focus on culturally specific enhancement of our overall workforce. The remaining $2.2 million will be used in fiscal year 25. We utilize these funds to support 0.2 FTE in our quality management unit for the time dedicated for the project, as well as adding a full-time position in our human resources department to support behavioral health specific recruitment, and a full-time program specialist to help with coordinating the trainings that we're going to be negotiating and contracting with clinical supervisors, overall management of the grant, and oversight of the incentive distribution. The behavioral health workforce, as you know, has been strained for quite some time. These incentives are anticipated to make opportunities at the county more appealing and to assist with retaining our existing workforce. Next slide, please. This is a breakdown of the provision of clinical supervision within Behavioral Health Division at this time. We surveyed staff and supervisors around their current needs for clinical licensure supervision, and we have a significant number of staff who would have a preference to receive supervision from a culturally specific provider. We also have staff who are not currently licensed who would like to become licensed and would benefit from this level of supervision. Next slide, please. With regards to the clinical supervision, we will be able to contract with external providers to ensure that we have a robust pool of licensure supervision opportunities for our staff. We will be able to offer training for clinical supervisors or staff that want to become clinical licensure supervisors. There is a cost associated with it and time associated with receiving that approval to be a clinical licensure supervisor. We will be able to compensate staff for time spent outside of work hours in clinical supervision. Many of our staff do this clinical licensure supervision on top of their 40-hour work week, and so we want to be able to compensate them for that time they're spending. As noted, we hired a program specialist to help with management of this grant. We would like to be able to offer a 5% lead premium for represented staff who are currently providing clinical licensure supervision for other staff in our division. They're currently just doing that on top of their workload. And next slide, please. We are excited to be able to offer some tuition reimbursement for staff who want to pursue higher education. We will use some funds to increase our engagement with behavioral health interns. This has a significant impact on our work and will also positively impact our workforce when they hopefully choose the county for their future employment. We will also be using these funds to enhance culturally specific recruitment for our division through the hiring of a culturally specific human resources staff. And we will also be recruiting in specific communities. We'll use some funding to use on the multiple platforms that require additional funds to be able to recruit outside of our normal free sources.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Did we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, we have one person signed up, Charles Bridgegren Johnson.
Hooray! I'm Bridgegren Charles Simcoe Johnson, and it is hella cool to see we have $1 million going into strengthening the workforce, doing mental health support through the county, especially talking about culturally specific services. Of course, I'm most attached to queer culture. Hell yeah, for the win. But it's, as has been coming out more and more in these county commission meetings, it will be great to see next year's metrics about how much we improved mental health access and employee retention among these culturally specific groups that we're talking about, whether they be Latino, Black, queer, whatever. It would be a little bit sad if a year from now or whenever we do our job completely and fully do the things that we expect leadership to do, we find that we had zero improvement after making $1 million investment. Maybe sometimes that's why we never get to the metrics part. It's maybe a tiny bit unfair for me to grab 3 minutes on this, since my mental health funding comes from an even more mysterious source. I have to know how Dr. Darrell Walker gets his money to keep Cascadia going. I don't get direct service mental health at this time through the county, maybe if I have another carceral experience. This is a big yes, but I just want to encourage everyone, yourselves and people in the community, to be aware that $1 million to improving, I hope this improves employee retention, even though what we really need is more than $1 million so we can actually grow the number of practitioners. Just backstopping these resources will keep the flow going so that the people that are doing the work can keep their schedules fuller, provide direct services to more clients in need. So this is a big hell yeah vote, and I look forward to you doing it. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to the board for any questions or comments. We'll start with Commissioner Stegman.
Thank you, Chair. I don't really have any questions except to say this is great to see some incentives being provided, especially for culturally specific providers, which we all know just there aren't enough of them. And then the tuition reimbursement, that's something, if you travel around to a lot of different counties, they do provide tuition reimbursement. So I'm glad to see that you're moving in that direction, and we know that there's just a huge workforce shortage, especially in that field. So, so this is great and positive and exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Myron.
Hi, thank you. I attended that Oregon Council for Behavioral Health Leadership Conference a couple of weeks back, and yes, the workforce issues were highlighted there, as they are throughout our state and our country right now. I guess actually some of what Charles mentioned were some of the questions I actually had, and it's about connecting those dots for each of the sort of investments described. I can think of a lot of ways that we could achieve many of those things, and it's not clear to me how this $1 million, which is a lot of money, is going to impact the people we ultimately are serving, who we want to, where we want to see improvements through the culturally specific services that we provide. So I have too many questions to answer here, I think, and would like to have further conversation about it. But in that vein, nothing at all addressing the important need, like the crucial need for culturally specific workforce, people with cultural competence. I will be voting no on this just because I don't see the connection with the dots, and I don't see an overall strategy into which it will feed and where I can see that there will be the kind of outcomes I would want to see achieved. I mean, if you feel free to respond to that, but we can talk offline too.
Those are great points, Commissioner Myron. The piece around the training and bringing in culturally specific training providers will assist our clinicians in growing their skills and in having support. And when you have skilled, supported clinicians, they provide good care to our community. Our clinicians are not receiving the level of culturally specific supervision and training that they need, and they have told us they need. And so this grant is going to also engage them in identifying what trainers they want to see, who they receive clinical licensure supervision from. Additionally, when you move clinicians from a QMHP status into a licensed status, you give them additional skills. You give them clinical skills for doing those mental health assessments and their treatment plans. They provide a higher level of services with those skills that they've earned and that they've developed. So we will see better client care. We also have a tired workforce who is asking for that emotional support from their clinical licensure supervisors. And by giving them culturally specific clinical licensure supervisors, they'll receive not only the skills, but the emotional and cultural support that they're desperately needing. And happy to answer any other questions.
I guess, yeah. I think we're in complete alignment about what we need to see and how, and that our workforce desperately needs to be supported, and I think where I just need, again, like I said, it's only because I don't have an option to abstain and get more information or postpone. Right now, I don't. It's that connection, that amount of money, that understanding how this is the right investment for this purpose, that I just don't think I can get the information that I need to make this decision at this point. So,
may I add to that too? Our direct clinical services program, which provides youth and family services, we're really proud that we have 70% staff of color. on those teams, and that's the highest density of direct services coming out of the county is with our youth programs. And our population served is just above 65% clients and families of color. So one of the issues that we're having is just the ability to provide culturally specific clinical supervision. I have a senior manager, Yolanda Gonzalez, who has 7 direct supervisees for clinical supervision. She's covering that because we just don't have capacity otherwise to provide culturally specific clinical supervision. So this really opens up our capability to offer the clinical supervision that our staff are asking for and need, and that directly impacts the clinical care of the clients that we serve. So we're really excited about the opportunity to have this bolster our capability to provide culturally specific services and just really enhance our workforce, and also just broaden our appeal as an employer who offers these services and these professional development opportunities. So that's part of it.
Actually, thank you, Heather. I have a question maybe for the chair, or I'm not sure who, or for you in the department. I mean, I think that is compelling, and I, like I said, I do absolutely support what we're trying to do and want to support our workforce. I would be willing to vote for this, but I would want to see some very stringent, like some very specific reports back, maybe in 6 months, to tell us how those funds are being used and to ensure that they're achieving the results that hopefully they would. So how's that sound?
Yes,
okay.
we've built it into our strategic plan. We're really
Okay.
excited about the opportunity of outcomes related to what we plan to do with these funds.
Okay.
Very excited. Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
Okay.
We've also submitted a performance plan to the Oregon Health Authority that has quarterly reports, and we're happy to share those quarterly reports with you all.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much for answering those
Thanks
questions.
for the good questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Brim Edwards.
I don't have any questions. I too would like to just see the outcome of like whether the strategies and tactics we're implementing are effective, and if they are, great, double down. If not, change strategies. So, thanks.
Thanks. I really appreciate this. I think the fact that the state is allocating money to address some of the shortfalls that we have in such a needed area of behavioral health care workforce is really important, and I'm glad that we have prioritized using these dollars as we're looking at how our staff can grow in their capabilities and also better reflect the communities that we're serving where there is so much need in these services. So I appreciate all that. And I would just say, one of the things I'm interested in is seeing how we are using kind of these one-time only dollars to connect with the other efforts that are happening either at the state level with some of our different partners in terms of the overall growth of the behavioral health resource, because I know that's something that we're struggling with at the county, but we're hearing about that from all of our partners, from all of our health system partners, from some of our schools and everything. And so just how we are all working together to address this issue and leveraging all these different resources. Great. All right. Thank you so much. And with that, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Myron?
Aye.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Stegman?
Aye.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye. The budget modification is approved.
R7, budget modification number DCHS-010-24, state rebalance decreases DCHS federal/state fund budget by $100,000 in youth and family services.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Myron moves. Commissioner Stegman seconds. Approval of R7. Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, chair. My name is Alex Sanchez. I use he, him, or they, them pronouns, and I'm here on behalf of Peggy Semolinsky, who is out today. We are before you seeking approval for a budget modification that reduces the Youth and Family Services Division budget by $100,000. Our State of Oregon Youth Development Division funding, which we have gotten over the last several years and included in our budget in anticipation of that award, was was reduced by half, by $100,000. So we are seeking to reduce that budget and move $100,000 in contracted county general fund from one program offer, our Sun Community Services Schools, our Sun Community Schools, to our Sun Youth Advocacy Program to cover the balance. And Walter Rodriguez, our Sun Services Manager, is here with me today to offer some more context and some more details about that shift.
Good morning. My name is Walter Rodriguez. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the program manager for the Sun Service System. YFS had been receiving these funds for several years now through the state for a middle school and a high school component. And when we proposed our budget, or when we, so therefore, we had $200 that were included in the fiscal year 24 budget that were covered by the state. And unfortunately, in July of 2023, YFS was notified that the budget only, or that we were awarded the middle school component and not the high school component of the grant. This left around $100,000 for contracts that are executed with Self Enhancement Inc. and Latino Network unfunded. And we were wanting to and that would have impacted about 50 youth, and 97% of which were students of color.
Anything else?
That is all.
Okay. Thank you. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
This is R7, right? R7. No, we don't.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll go to the board for questions, and I believe we're at Commissioner Myron? I think so.
Thank you. I just had a question thinking back to, budget conversations and I think it was $4 million that we had, that were allocated for that family. Yeah. Where does that fit into the picture? Because that had seemed, at the time, like quite a bit of money, and if I just don't know how it all fits together, or if the $100,000 is where it would best come from.
Well, the $4 million were for the Family Resource Navigators, and this is a different program for the Sun Youth Advocacy, focusing on supporting middle school students and getting them connected to resources, case management, what are their goals, prepare them for middle school. So it's really focusing on the youth work.
I guess my question was actually about where the backfill was coming from, which is the agency support activity, are we on schedule to be using that $4 million for the purpose it was allocated for, or it seems like there could be $100,000. I'm just thinking about the Sun budget as a whole and where the funds best come from to totally support the youth advocacy work and support Sun in general. It's fine. We can talk.
Yeah,
we can talk later.
I think we're only partway through the year, so any of our rebalancing, we're basing it on kind of where we're at in our spending and where it makes most sense to shift from one to the other. And at this point in the year, our budget folks are advising us. Okay. These are the two program offers that seem to best rebalance each other, and then we'll just kind of keep an eye on it throughout the rest of the budget cycle.
Perfect. Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Brim-Edwards. All right, Commissioner Stegman.
Thank you, Chair. So they're going to fund elementary, but they're not going to fund the high school.
They were, so the state funds were for middle and high school, and they only awarded us the middle school.
The middle school. Okay. And so, that's unfortunate. So we're just going to have 50 youth that will be unserved.
Well, we're asking for the budget modification to have $100,000 from communities, from what a program offer community schools to youth advocacy to cover.
Oh, okay.
So that services can continue.
Okay, and so then, but what deficit will there be if we move that funding around in programming or serving?
This would not, shift would not impact any services to communities that are currently happening in community schools.
Well, then good job. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Thank you for putting the pieces together to keep this going. Again, reflecting that we are moving county general fund dollars to backfill a decrease from the state. I just always want to underline that. All right, thank you. Tasia, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Myron? Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Stegman?
Aye.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the budget modification is approved.
Thank you.
R8, budget modification number JOHS-005-24, increasing JOHS federal/state fund appropriation by $242,087.
So moved.
Commissioner Stegman moves, Commissioner Myron seconds. Approval of R8. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Dan Field. I'm the Director of the Joint Office of Homeless Services. I use he, him pronouns. We're here today with a very modest rebalancing request totaling $242,000, comprising 5 different buckets of very modest puts and takes, increases and decreases. So we'll have our Finance Director in the Joint Office, Antoinette Payne, walk us through those 5 buckets.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Antoinette Payne. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Finance Manager Senior for the Joint Office of Homeless Services. Thank you for your opportunity to present today. Here are some of the areas where we've seen some changes. The first one is in the HUD Continuum of Care. We saw an increase of $79K, which provides placements and rent assistance within our DV system. The next one, housing opportunities for persons living with AIDS, an increase of $312K. This helps address the housing needs of individuals living with HIVs that aligns with the goals outlined in the Portland Consolidated Annual Action Plan. These next 2 ones, we saw a reduction. The emergency housing assistance, we saw a decrease of $146K. This reduction impacts Lilac Meadows, Family Shelter, and Assisting Youth housing placements. We plan to backfill the reduction with the shelter flow-through and immediate client rent assistance from the unanticipated Metro SHS funding. And lastly, there are other small changes in decrease of $3K in totality in Emergency Solutions Grant, State Housing Assistance Program, and Emergency Housing Assistance Veterans. We plan to backfill that reduction with unanticipated Metro SHS funding. That's all I have. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
Yes, we have one person signed up, Charles Bridgecrane Johnson.
And we're running a bit behind, so we're going to have 2 minutes of public testimony. Thank you.
Charles Simcoe, Bridgecrane Johnson, and 2 minutes is more than enough. Thank you. And since Ms. Payne was just up here, maybe I'll recall that I was a snarky, disappointed person back on, I think it was the 29th, with C2. I said that there was a change of FTE shenanigans going on at the JOHS. And what I found out is that under the 3 pages of APR, there was a kick-ass slide presentation of like 5 slides from Ms. Payne explaining that jiggling of FTEs there. So I marked on my little sheet that I'm in favor of this R8 move to rebalancing. I think it should go on the record, you know, we don't officially vet expert testimony here, but as a person experiencing housing distress, whatever that covers under, it's really, there are systemic issues in our country where people should not publicly identify as unhoused because it limits their ability to do certain things, much like I think in this country still openly and actively multi-partner sexual people cannot donate blood, even though we have a whole bunch of science that tells us that blood, what's safe for blood supplies. Anyway, on the record, in the HMIS, which I don't think HMIS really does anything, but way back once upon a time in HMIS, there was a number created, 0363805. And of course, the numbers have skyrocketed since then, but I would really like to know what the hell TPI and the HMIS is doing for everybody, and in particular, people who might be identified by that client number, because as we know, thousands of people are still sleeping outside. And there was just, I think, a headline saying that in some service areas, the movement of people being provided services was 1%. 99% of people were stuck for a year. Thanks, y'all.
All right, we'll go to the board for any questions or comments, and we'll start with Commissioner Broom Edwards.
No questions.
Okay, Commissioner Stegman?
No questions.
Commissioner Myron? All right.
I'm sorry, I did have a question.
Okay, go.
Sorry. Hopefully it's an easy one. I'm just looking at the funding decreases for the state emergency housing assistance.
Oh, is your microphone?
I'm just looking at the materials about the decrease in the state emergency housing assistance for veterans funds as part of the whole overarching package. And it looks like there's a mitigation by some moving of other funds, but I just wanted to make sure that was that fully mitigated so that the funding decrease in here is actually being backfilled by other funds?
No, I mean, there shouldn't be any impact.
So that'd be, yeah.
I mean, yes, there is.
Okay. Just want to make sure that, so the veterans program won't see any decrease, even though it's an actual, it may look like a decrease, but it's actually being backfilled somewhere else.
Correct.
Correct, thanks.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Myron? Commissioner Broom Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Stegman?
Aye.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the budget modification is approved. Thank you.
R9, budget modification number DA-001-24, mid-year state rebalance, MCJRP, HB 3194.
Second.
Commissioner Myron moves, Commissioner Stegman seconds, approval of R9. Good morning.
Good morning, Commission. My name is Mike Schmidt. I'm the District Attorney. Good to see you this morning. Here to talk about the next, I think, 3 budget modifications. This very first one is just something you've heard about already, the state funding for our Justice Reinvestment Program. Our slice of the pie decreased. Each of the participant agencies that received some funding from it, we've all taken some reductions. We were able to accomplish our reductions, as you can see on this slide, without a decrease in services. We did that by decreasing the level, the Deputy District Attorney level that is funded from a DDA 3, which is a more senior, more experienced prosecuting attorney, to DDA 2, which is still felony qualified district attorney, but typically with less experience than a DDA 3. And in that, with the change, we were also able to change the level of our research analyst. So with those 2 changes, we were able to not decrease services with the decrease of the $82,000 that we have in this program area.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, do we have any public testimony on this item?
Yes, I believe Charles signed up.
Okay, we'll do 2 minutes again.
Good morning. Thank you again for the 2 minutes, I think is what we're doing. I'm Charles Simcoe Bridge Crane Johnson, and maybe funding for the district attorney is the most complicated part because, as I've spoken, Abby Stamp is here today, we are seeing a positive trend in the reduction of homicides and maybe also general gun violence. But some things lag a lot before the positive experiences we're seeing in this calendar year soak up into the courts, where sometimes things take years. Earlier I mentioned the tragedy that Tara Ann Harris, who was represented by Alicia Hercher, will have her file closed at the district attorney's office because she died in jail. But that frees up resources to address other problems, except, of course, obviously these little budget tweaks need to happen, but you can't really talk about the functionality of the district attorney's office without talking about the Oregon public defense crisis. I think there's been some progress on that, and as a person whose primary focus in the criminal justice system right now is finding out how the heck we get a sane closure of case 22 CR 56514. I don't have time to go into all the nitty-gritty workings of House Bill 3149 and the various things that the state does that impact the way our court systems work. But obviously, this is something we can adjust, but I think that as various people in public move towards the election cycle, not just the election we're going to have for district attorney, but the public is best served by especially hearing a long-range plan to get every jurisdiction in the state of Oregon, but of course Multnomah County, fully served with adequate defense that goes beyond just what we have at MCD and MDI. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to the board for any questions or comments, and we'll start with Commissioner Stegman.
No questions. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Myron? Commissioner Brim Edwards? All right, thank you. Can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Myron? Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Stegman?
Aye.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the budget modification is approved.
R10, budget modification number DA-002-24, contingency request for body-worn cameras expansion.
So moved. Second? No, you.
Commissioner Stegman moves, Commissioner Myron seconds, or vice versa, approval of R10.
Great.
We also have a slide show.
All right, we'll give it
Thank
a
you,
minute.
Chair. I think we have a couple slides coming up. While we're doing that, I jumped right into the last item because it was, I think, pretty straightforward, but I didn't introduce who was up here with me at the table, which was my budget director, Michelle Myers, if you want to introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Myers. I use she, her pronouns. I am, like Mike said, the finance director for the DA's office.
And to my right,
Chief Investigator Peter Simpson. I oversee all the investigators, including the body-worn camera unit.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning.
so on this next budget note, talking about the body-worn cameras allocation, we're asking for the commission to allocate to us $588,404 from the contingency funds that were set aside for this purpose. So one of the reasons that it was set aside was because at the time of going into the new fiscal year, it was uncertain about what the timing of PPB's pilot would be and when it would actually be going live. So I'm going to have my chief investigator, Peter Simpson, talk to you about what we're seeing in terms of that pilot and what's happening with body-worn cameras.
Yeah, good morning. We talked last about what we thought what it might look like with the pilot. We have a little clarity now on the numbers. Prior to the pilot, our office was receiving about 80 body-worn camera cases per month from Gresham, Port of Portland, and Portland State University. And at that time, we were able to review 64% of the cases. Look at all the videos, 80% of those felony cases we were able to review. Once the pilot started with Portland, they had about 150 cameras. We estimated our work would double or triple. We were almost exact on that. In the month of October, 178 cases, but our ability to review dropped to 17% because of the volume. With the budget modifications, we have added software through Axon called Justice Premier. It's built for prosecutors' offices. It helps with the efficiencies and the flow of information and discovery at the DA level so that we are making sure all the videos are getting to the right place quickly. And it has efficiencies built in that will help review videos faster, especially with Portland using Axon. We're in a bit of a unique position in that most prosecutors' offices are adopting a body-worn camera program after the major agencies already have implemented it. Places like LA and New York adopted it from their police agencies, and the DA's offices had to play catch-up. We're in a good position in that we're a little bit of ahead of Portland in that we have this software, we're training on it now, we've hired some investigators to review the video, and Portland will full rollout, they're telling us late spring, which will go from the 150 in the pilot to somewhere near 700 cameras. The Sheriff's Office, we're told, will begin their pilot sometime in December, I believe, or maybe January. Certainly, they're a much smaller agency, so their footprint won't be as large, but the combined amount of work is going to substantially increase next year. But like I said, we're by luck, we're in a good position in that we're getting ahead of things before Portland does a full rollout. So we'll have our systems in place to make sure the videos are getting to the defense attorneys, our prosecutors, and we can identify any issues along the way.
Great, thank you. We will go to the board for any questions on this, and we will start with Commissioner Myron. Thank you. Commissioner Brim-Edwards.
I don't have any questions. I appreciate our previous conversations we've had about this and the need for the funds for this and proactively getting after it. I'm very supportive of body-worn cameras, and I'm going to be interested as the Sheriff's Office rolls this out of what resources they need in order to implement it effectively just across the county. So the sort of two pieces, not just in addition to the DA's office, what the Sheriff's Office will need in order to implement it. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Stegman.
Thank you, Chair. No questions. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Did we have any public comment on this?
Yes, we have one person signed up, Lightning.
Thank you. And we'll do 2 minutes.
How many minutes did you say I have?
2 minutes.
No, I want 3. There's no other people waiting in line. There's no reason for you to deny me the full 3 minutes. Tell me why you would deny me that.
Lightning.
Absolutely, you can.
Say your piece, and I will make sure that you get time to say your piece. Okay?
Well, like I say, why are you cutting me to 2 minutes from 3 when there's no other people speaking?
We are trying to catch up a little time on our schedule, but I want you to feel like you can say your piece, so go ahead and say your piece.
Okay, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Superhumanity X. One of the things I've focused on is making sure that not only that we got the body-worn cameras on the Portland Police Bureau, and again, we'll be modifying the body-worn camera policy extensively, is also getting the body-worn cameras on the Multnomah County Sheriff's Department. Again, I'm not only looking at doing the body-worn cameras on the correctional officers, the patrol officers, the TriMet officers. I feel that the Multnomah County Sheriff's Department will have a larger imprint, more cameras than the city of Portland. And my position is that I want to see a public levy, safety levy created for a sustainable funding mechanism. We have very bright people from Axon Industries that can come in and do a quick analysis on our overall costs, on what we need, and we need to have some numbers on how many cameras we're going to be funding. And we need to have that number so we can also, my understanding, be applying for grants from the BJA, getting grants for these type of cameras, type of services. Again, Axon are the experts on this. And I want to have more input from Axon, again, focusing again on the jails, the jail deaths. We want the video, we want the audio. As you know from my past speeches, I had extensive problems with Multnomah County River Patrol trying to set me up not only once, but twice, being caught in the act both times, and then sending their little goon squad down in the middle of the night at 3:30 to attempt to harm me. And that is why my main focus is to get the cameras on Multnomah County River Patrol, and I will monitor them around the clock. Anything they say, anything they do will be monitored. I approve of this 100%, and I want more input from the DAs on the body-worn camera policies and more input from the Attorney General on the body-worn camera policies. I want these to be very comprehensive, and I want to have a clear understanding of the compliance mechanism. If they do not follow these policies, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Thank you. All right. Can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Myron? Aye. Commissioner Brim-Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Stegman?
Aye.
Chair Vega Peterson.
Aye. The budget modification is approved.
R11, budget modification number DA-003-24, contingency requests for UPERS and DDAs.
Second.
Commissioner Myron moves, Commissioner Stegman seconds. Approval of R11. Good morning again.
Good morning, Chair. Again, my name is Mike Schmidt, Multnomah County District Attorney, and I'm joined by my Finance Director, Michelle Myers. This budget modification recognizes a change in state law that happened in the last session that would give deputy district attorneys, make them eligible for uniform PERS in their retirement package, as also known as police and fire. So this is a very welcome change. It recognizes the challenging and traumatizing work that deputy district attorneys are asked to do around the clock. I really appreciate the chair's support of this in the legislative session and as well as the rest of the commission in setting aside the money for this. For this fiscal year, we're requesting the $347,743 to account for this change, which is less than what was set aside, but will make us whole through this fiscal year.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll go to the board with any questions. And Commissioner Myron. Okay, Commissioner Stegman.
No questions. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, can we have a roll call vote? Thank you both.
Commissioner Myron. Commissioner Brim Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Stegman.
Aye.
Chair Vega Peterson.
Aye, the budget modification is approved.
R12, Moltco gives briefing and endorsement.
This is a non-voting item, but it is an annual item that we have. And I welcome all the employees who are coming down to talk more about this item, but this is where we get to kick off the year-end employee giving here at Multnomah County. This is a real season of generosity. I don't know about you, but my inbox has been filled with a lot of Give Guide emails and end-of-year giving emails, and that is something that is continuing here at Multnomah County. This is a time where we can be thoughtful and intentional about building philanthropy into our lives and picking some of really worthy nonprofits to support. So this is our opportunity at the county to really focus on some of those organizations, especially some of those who have relationships with the county. So for me, I invite the employees, we're going to hear more about this program for sure, but I invite our employees to give generously. I'm very grateful for this opportunity that we have every year to do this, and really glad that we're going to be able to hear from some of our nonprofit partners who are a part of our Moltco Gives campaign. So I really appreciate you all being here today, and I will turn it over to Matt, who is the Employee Giving Campaign Co-Chair. Thank you for having that role, and I'll turn it over for you for the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Matt Moline, he, him pronouns. I'm co-chairs along with
Debbie Patton. I use she, her pronouns.
And then we just wanted to give a little kudos to the other volunteer members of the council who are all county employees.
Yes. We've expanded our council this year. That includes Allison Fry, Elias Fernley, Gregorio Benavides, Isaro Asensio, Jamila Williams, Jay Levitri, Carla Hernandez, Marvin Pena, and Nadia Ogani, Nancy Boer, Ruby Gonzalez, Sarah McCall, Sarah Mim, and Zumana Rahman.
So thank you for taking the time today. Today is the inaugural kickoff for the campaign this year, and it's going to run through Friday, December 15th. We do have some esteemed guests who have joined us today, so we'll see the podium shortly, and because we want to give them some time to share the amazing work they do and the impact they have on our community. Just a few items, just a reminder for employees that every dollar they give is 100% passed through to the organization of their choice. The county pays United Way a flat fee of $5,000 to coordinate and so that it can just come directly out of payroll. You can do $1 a paycheck, up to as much as you want, and/or you can choose a lump sum, and that would come out of your first paycheck of the calendar year. And Debbie?
Yeah. We will be hosting an in-person event next Tuesday, November 14th, here at the Multnomah Building from 11:30 to 1:30. And there will be free pizza as well. And we'll have about 10 charitable organizations in attendance to speak to their impact on the community and answer any questions employees may have about them. We will also again be hosting charitable giving hours throughout the following weeks. Some of our virtual events will be in the mornings and some in the afternoons, hopefully allowing employees ample opportunities to attend and learn more about giving opportunities. And now, please allow me to introduce Executive Director Jennifer Wagley from our Children Oregon.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair. Thank you for having us today. I'm Jennifer Wagley. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Executive Director of Our Children Oregon. And Our Children Oregon is the result of a merger between Children's First for Oregon and the Children's Trust Fund of Oregon. So we are both old and new. We launched April 2020. And our particular role for the state is to represent kids in the Capitol every legislative session. We are part of a national network called the Partnership for America's Children that ensures that children have a voice and a place at the table at the decisions that are impacting their lives across state houses across the nation. And we get the privilege to do that here in Oregon for kids. We also track the well-being of Oregon's kids, making sure that we understand how they're faring and where we might need to apply both political and policy emphasis in order to change systems. So we know, for example, that we're 7th in health outcomes for children across the nation when it comes to ranking in the country, but we're 44th for educational outcomes. And so we know that that's not good enough, so how do we continue to lean in to try to improve our educational outcomes for our kids? We bring together 140 organizational partners throughout the state to put together a comprehensive agenda for kids called the Children's Agenda. And it has been so successful the past 4 or 5 years in ensuring that kids, no matter their place, race, identity, or ability, have what they need to thrive. The last thing that we do, maybe not the last thing, but the last thing I'll mention that we do is that we are both educating and activating Oregonians across the state to get more involved in what's going on with our children and youth. And so you can join ACT and be a part of a movement to improve the lives of kids in this state to ensure that every child has a chance to thrive. So we appreciate the opportunity and thank you.
And next, Development Coordinator Aaron Green from Oregon Humane Society.
Good morning, welcome.
Good morning. My name is Aaron Green. I am the Development Coordinator at Oregon Humane Society, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today about the work we do in Multnomah County and throughout the state to support our mission of creating a more humane society. OHS is the largest animal welfare organization in the Northwest, and in 2022, we became even larger when we expanded to our second campus in Salem and opened new buildings in Portland, most notably the Community Veterinary Hospital. You may already know that we adopt out thousands of animals every year to loving homes, but we also offer behavior and training programs, as well as medical care through our shelter and community hospitals. And our humane special agents help animals in neglect and abuse situations. To talk about what most people know us for, in 2022, we adopted out just under 10,000 pets. However these pets come to us, there is never a time limit on how long they can remain at our shelters before they're adopted. Whether they come from one of our second chance partners, like Multnomah County Animal Services, or from a larger rescue like the relief efforts after the destructive Maui fires, or a simple owner surrender, they stay for as long as they need to find the right home. We opened our award-winning community veterinary hospital at the Portland campus in 2022. If you are a pet owner in Portland, you may have run into the shortage of veterinary care, long wait times to be seen, so I do encourage you to reach out to the CVH. It's a state-of-the-art facility for checkups, preventative pet care, surgery, dental work. It's the home of our Spay and Save program. And thanks to generous donor support, we are able to offer subsidized care for those who need it. Donations to OHS have incredible impact on the lives of pets. Our donors support transformative work from daily feedings and care, vaccines, life-saving surgeries, rescues from disaster zones, rehabilitation after injury or neglect, and so much more. A $30 donation is enough to provide a full day of shelter care and all that entails for one pet. So thank you so much for letting me share a little bit about what the Oregon Humane Society does, and I'm excited to share this opportunity with Multnomah County employees, and thank you for being a hero to the animals.
Thank you, Erin.
Next, we have Community Giving and Volunteer Services Manager Melissa Slanetz from the Black United Fund of Oregon.
Good morning.
Hello. Again, my name is Melissa Slanetz, she, her pronouns, wow. Community Giving and Volunteer Services Manager with the Black United Fund of Oregon. Thank you for letting us be here today to speak on all the great nonprofit work that we do. In 1983, prominent Black leaders in Northeast Portland noticed that many philanthropic organizations were providing minimal support to communities of color. And so BUF was founded with that idea in mind to start helping channel charitable funds to low-income areas. And for over 40 years, our mission has been to assist in the social and economic development of Oregon's underserved communities, which we accomplish through several response areas, including our 3 program areas. Post-secondary options, which provides scholarships and services to BIPOC youth interested in pursuing higher ed, the skilled trades, or direct-to-career routes. Community justice and equity, which provides business grants and helps to connect Black entrepreneurs and Black-owned businesses to the resources and relationships they need to thrive. And community giving, which supports mission-aligned BIPOC and or female-led and serving grassroots organizations that provide vital resources to our community through grants and sponsorships. BUF is the longest-standing BIPOC-led and serving foundation in Oregon and one of the last culturally specific organizations remaining on historically Black yet heavily gentrified Northeast Alberta Street. So holding the space both physically and culturally is one of our highest priorities. And it's donors like you that keep our services thriving, and we most certainly appreciate your time today, and of course for Multnomah County's longstanding partnership. So thank you.
And last, we have Jennifer Huford, Development Director for Community Transitional School.
Morning.
Hi, thank you for having us all. Community Transitional School is a pre-K through 8th grade school dedicated to the needs of students experiencing homelessness or otherwise in transition in the Portland metro area and greater Multnomah County. We've been around since 1990, so this is our 34th year. We've, over the course of that time, educated almost 8,000 of Portland and the county's most vulnerable children. We are able to provide door-to-door transportation, and pickup and drop-off can be changed up to 2 times a day to accommodate the frequent and many moves of our very mobile population. We also provide 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch as part of the USDA school meals program, and have a clothes closet to provide needed toiletries and clothing, new clothing, as well as a warm coat and shoes and a new backpack and all the school supplies they'll need for the time that they're at our school. We have some students, our general length of stay is about 18 weeks, but some students at least half stay at least a year. Some students have been there 4 years. We are generously funded. 7% of our funding comes from the county, so thank you. The rest is all fundraised, which is my job. So I thank everyone for having us and look forward to the forums for explaining our services more so in the next coming weeks. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, Chair Peterson and Commissioners, for making time on your agenda to see us. Our campaign will run from today through December 15th this year.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, there is free pizza that's going to be in room 315 on Tuesday, the 14th, this coming Tuesday. And we're kind of trying to shake things up a bit this year. Last year, we saw our contribution total amount and total participants decline. So we're going to try to do a little more things in person, a little more community-based. And so if this is successful, we'll be looking to maybe do a ice cream social with some charities at the beginning of December at one of the East County facilities, so that everything's not just in this building.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for all of our employees who are participating on the Giving campaign this year, the committee, and just appreciate everyone who was here to talk about some of these amazing organizations. I think we have upwards of 15, 20 organizations that that people can choose from as they think about what most resonates with them, what things they want to support in this upcoming year. And I'm so glad to hear that we're going to be doing some of these things in person so that people do have a chance to really come together in community and learn more about the opportunities here. So thank you for all of the work on this. We'll go to the board for any questions, and I think it's Commissioner Broome-Edwards' turn to go first.
No questions, just thank you very much. I know it makes a huge difference in our community.
Commissioner Stegman.
Thank you so much for being here. You had me at pizza, ice cream, and East County. So let me know when you're going to be out in East County, and I'll try to join you. So I do have one question. What is the advantage or benefit of employees contributing through the Multnomah County program? I know that it's payroll deducted versus just going directly to these great organizations.
It's really just to another ease of access point. People can choose to not go through the payroll. It's really like ease of access, but also United Way sort of pools these donations from lots of other employers have campaigns like this, and so that they can send like a large lump sum quarterly to these charities, because a lot of times, you know, there's administration around like cashing a check, or, you know, instead of getting like $500 $10 checks, it'd be a lot easier for them to just get one ACH of $5,000.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, I want to thank you both for volunteering your time, and the entire council. And this is just a great thing that we can do collectively and for, you know, many of our, it's going to be really hard to choose. Can you pick multiple? I haven't seen the actual form. Like, is there a limit? How many?
No, there's no limit. And actually, and the nice feature about United Way is, although we have some federations that we individually vet every other year as a council through the county code, but United Way, if there is an organization you're aware of, you can actually search it, and if they are the, I want to say 5013C, I think that's the term. C3, thank you. We're volunteers. Yeah, you can plug it in. And so, like, I know for me last year, like, I chose like 5 different organizations. And so you can just, you know, put like $3, $5, $6, you know, whatever you want to do for each one. And then it just comes out one lump sum in your paycheck. And then United Way sends you at the end of the year, if you do want to itemize your taxes, you'll see like you sent this much money throughout the year to each organization.
That's great. Thank you so much, Matt and Debbie. Again, your volunteerism is so appreciated. Thank you for leading this up.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Commissioner Myron.
I just want to heap on the gratitude and thank you, Matt and Debbie, for the presentation and your work in putting all of this together, and your teams and the volunteers. It's really, I think back over the years now, I mean, this is the seventh one. And it's always just such a joy to hear so many incredible organizations elevated in this way. The real challenge, as Commissioner Stegman alluded to, is choosing among them. And I'm glad you clarified that you can give to more than one organization. And I just want to thank to those of you who came here today, Jennifer, Melissa, and Aaron, and just great appreciation, and look forward to pizza, of course. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great, and thank you again. So again, 11:14, 11:30, room 315, pizza. Got it.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all so very much. That is our last agenda item for today. We do have time for board comment. I just have a couple items that I wanted to talk about. First of all, I just wanted to let the board know, I think we had talked about this previously, but next Tuesday, 11:14, during our normal board briefing time, we are going to have time on the agenda to do for folks to share about their conferences, their visits, some of the different areas of policy interest that people have been exploring over the last couple months. So we're going to have some time set aside for that. So look forward to a good discussion then. And I did want to just take a minute to reflect on tomorrow's Veterans Day holiday and really what holding this space in our calendar as an organization means to this community. We know that we have over 40,000 veterans that live and work in Multnomah County, and that these veterans are both some of the most honorable and some of the most vulnerable among us. We are as committed today as we have ever been to making sure Multnomah County partners with our veterans in living the lives they deserve and having access to everything that they need to thrive, including employment, benefits, housing, healthcare, and community. So I am so pleased that we have many veterans who are represented among our workforce in Multnomah County, and that we continue to have their voices at the table through the county's Veterans Employee Resource Group, VERG, which help employees access training, career opportunities, and advocacy. It also is a space to bring people together, to support each other, to find and build community, and as the group's mission statement reminds us, leverage skill and experience in the county work environment to achieve their full potential. So I want to thank very deeply every Multnomah County employee who has also served our country in this important way, and to thank our veterans across the county for the great sacrifices that they've made on behalf of our county, our country, and the great contributions they make to their families, their neighborhoods, their community, and to our workforce. So I hope that everyone has a meaningful opportunity to reflect tomorrow. There's a lot of events, there are a lot of parades. I know many of us are planning on going to some of those, and just remember to folks to thank and appreciate a veteran if they can. With that, I'll call on commissioners by district to see who has any items to discuss, and I think we're on Commissioner Stegman.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for highlighting the importance of Veterans Day tomorrow. And I think it is tomorrow, or we're celebrating it tomorrow, but it's actually Saturday, so it's kind of confusing. But anyway, in Gresham, we will be having an event, as we do every year, and that will be Saturday at 11 a.m. at the Gresham Heroes Memorial, and that's on the corner of Powell and Roberts. And I apologize, I will not be here for the next 2 weeks, as I'll be traveling. I'll be attending the Korean Politicians Forum, which is an amazing opportunity. This is the second time I've been able to travel back to Seoul, South Korea, which is where I was born. The Korean government reaches out to politicians, electeds, people in leadership of Korean ethnicity from across the world, and brings them back to Seoul, South Korea for a 3-day conference, and then we'll also see some other historical sites. So it's really amazing opportunity that I'm just so honored to be able to be part of. So unfortunately, I will not be here for the best practices or the 11:14 kind of work session, but I look forward to the next one because I do have some best practices that I've seen that I would like to share with the board. And also wanted to let Commissioner Beeson know that I will miss his swearing in, but wanted to welcome him as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Myron.
Thank you. I too want to speak to Veterans Day, and actually have some comments about that, because usually we, as a Board of County Commissioners, we sponsor a proclamation to recognize Veterans Day and our gratitude for our veteran services. the work our veterans service officers do, and the work that nonprofit organizations that serve veterans do to support this community. This year's proclamation itself will be on next week's consent agenda due to a technicality, but I am raising the proclamation today because Veterans Day is on Saturday, with the holiday being celebrated, recognized tomorrow. And in the past, we have focused on so many important aspects of the incredible service that and dedication of our veterans and their families and loved ones to our community. We have focused on particularly the incredible intersectionality and diversity of our veterans, and I just can't thank enough or express the deep gratitude that I have and how much we need to do to honor the many people who serve the country and highlight our county's commitment to the estimated, it is 40,000 plus, but I have 40,224 plus veterans who reside within our county lines. As a board, we share an unwavering respect for the veterans in our community and a duty to provide services that for those who have dedicated their time to serve our nation. I've had the pleasure of liaising with the Multnomah County Veterans Task Force that was created by former Commissioner Diane McKeel. She was such a force for good on this commission, and this is a lasting gift that she has given to our county. And I want to call out the work of her former Chief of Staff and Commissioner Brim Edwards' current Chief of Staff, Eric Zimmerman, for his military service and his work to bring the task force into being. Also, as the chair mentioned, our Veterans Employee Research Group, thank you so much. We have such an array and diverse number of veterans who serve at the county specifically, and our employees throughout all that the county does, and that is really wonderful. So as a commissioner, I have learned more and more about the need from veterans for housing, for physical health care, for mental health care, and what we as a county can provide. But nationally, approximately 11% of veterans experience homelessness. 50% of veterans experiencing homelessness also live with a mental illness, such as PTSD. And in Oregon, it's estimated our homeless veteran population has grown 10% since 2020. I would suspect that in reality, these numbers are substantially higher. Mental health and houselessness, mental illness and houselessness represent a chronic cycle many veterans are vulnerable to. And as a county, we are committed to addressing the crises that they are facing and focusing on them. They have worked hard to serve our loved ones and our country. In return, we share a profound commitment to working hard to secure vital services to support and honor them. If you are a veteran or know someone who is a veteran, has served in the armed forces, their families, if you're in need of services, please don't hesitate to reach out to either our Veteran Services Division at the county or to my office. This is the one I just memorized, district1@multco.us, and we can connect you to whatever you may need. This year, it's very exciting, Multnomah Veteran Services and Veterans-Directed Care Teams will be represented officially at the Veterans Day Parade for the second time in Portland. The parade was reinstated last year after COVID in a different venue. It's in North Portland. It was so amazing last year. A number of legislators marched with me, and our interim health department director, Valdez Bravo, then deputy director, gave an inspiring speech. Thanks to him for his service as well. This parade is not only meaningful, but super fun. As they say, everyone loves a parade. So I know I will see some of my fellow commissioners out there, and Hope anyone who is interested will join me with friends, family. It's great for kids. There's candy to march and get your steps in and show support for our veterans all at the same time. So that's that. And then just a couple of comments. I had the honor of being invited to the White House, which I visited last week, to share impacts of the administration's investments at the local level with leaders from throughout Oregon. And it was one of the most meaningful, inspiring, just sort of events that I've attended. And I can share more next week. I appreciate that opportunity, but really sort of riding that high still. Although bringing back to reality, it was the fentanyl crisis convening that I attended yesterday that was hosted by the Attorney General that focused on the true public health emergency and crisis we're facing in our community, our state, and the nation. Next week, I will be on a panel for the Oregon Health Forum called Breaking Through Psychosis, Seeking Solutions for the Crisis on Our Streets. That will be a webinar Wednesday, I think, at noon, but I'll get information out. And I think that's it. It's a lot, but thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Berman Edwards.
Thank you. I have just two items. One, I'm going to be interested in hearing either at a board meeting or just a communication to county commissioners, the county's response to when the city implements its camping restrictions next week. And although there could be some sort of impact from a court ruling, we know that the city's actions will impact the county operations and county residents. And I'll be interested in finding out whether in our recent vote, we voted for funds for day centers and other ways to both support those who will be impacted by it, but also our county operations, whether it's libraries or other county public spaces. So I'll be looking forward to better understanding our response to that. And then the second item, I'll be playing cleanup for everybody else or batting cleanup for everybody else who mentioned this morning's the Veterans Day, because I want to acknowledge the upcoming Veterans Day holiday and also offer my appreciation to veterans in Multnomah County and Oregon. Veterans walk around us every day. Those who've served 3 years out of high schools and others who've retired after full careers of more than 20 years. They're all veterans worthy of recognition. And I know our county workforce is stronger because of veterans, including my own chief of staff, Eric Zimmerman, who's already been mentioned, a veteran who helped found the Veterans Employee Resource Group. Thank you, Eric. And others like Valdez Bravo, who's been mentioned, a senior leader in the health department. We're really proud of the veterans who serve for Multnomah County. I'm committed to support Multnomah County continuing to be an employer of choice for veterans, and that we support and are good partners for those veterans who work for us. And while I know many veterans are not looking for gratitude and prefer to live quietly and unassumingly with their families in our community, I think it's important we recognize them. And I think of my own father, a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, who was proud of his post-graduation service. And I know he really treasured that time that he served. And I know that for all of our veterans, that time of service was an important moment in their life. I also think it's really important that we recognize that the contract that veterans signed when they raised their right hand, it's a contract of unknown asks and potentially unmeasurable sacrifice. I'm thankful to our veterans this upcoming Veterans Day, and I much appreciate the service they gave to not only provided to our community, but also our country.
Thank you so much. And I did want to recognize at least one more veteran who's an employee in this room, our own Dorothy Elmore, who served in the U.S. Army. So thank you for that. So thank you all for your service very much, and we will have more to come, and just wish everyone a safe and healthy weekend. And being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Aye.